someone had left like a thank you card for me, and it had my name on it, and all it said was from room 22. What up, story motherfucking time. So sometime ago, I started telling y'all this story on Tiki-Taki. Just a really quick recap. Basically what happened was I was pulled as a CNA from my main floor to work on another floor. And what I noticed while I was working there was that every single patient that was assigned to a specific room, we're gonna call it room 22, just to, keep it consistent, there would be some sort of mental psychotic breakdown. And they would immediately demand to be removed from the room. And my coworker at the time, who we can call Sylvia, my fellow CNA, she said,
this only ever actually happens when this particular charge nurse is working.
I'm like, what charge nurse?
The charge nurse that was working.
So we can call that charge nurse Stacy. So during that same night, there was another patient that was being wheeled up to the floor. And this patient, she just looked like she was all things energy. And I remembered explaining her whole appearance, her aura, her vibe. She just, she had her head wrap, she had dreads, she had the body jewelry. She just emanated healer and someone who's very familiar with crystals and the universe, okay? That's the best I got for y'all. So she called the charge nurse out on whatever it was that was going on. Whatever that was that nobody was really openly discussing, she came onto the floor and just immediately was like to the charge nurse,
I don't like you, and I don't like what you're doing.
Great. Guess who is way more uncomfortable? Me. It is I am way more uncomfortable. Fast forward, and now prior to this, the charge nurse had came up to me and asked if there was anything that she could help me and my coworker, Sylvia, with. And Sylvia walked away. Sylvia did not respond. I responded and I said, no, we're good. Thank you though, it's all good, it's cool. That was the only bit of interaction that I had with the charge nurse. Fast forward, the charge nurse, I found out when I had came back to work, had put in her letter of resignation, effective immediately. Nobody heard from her, okay? Fast forward a few more days. This is a per diem job because I was also in nursing school, so my work schedule was not consistent. I wasn't doing 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week. It was whenever I had the free time. And it was time for me to go into work again, and my grandmother had called me that same day, literally like an hour before it was time for me to go into work, and said, don't go into work today. And I was very nervous because I was like, well, we are outside of that window of opportunity to call out and have it not be a ding against me. She gave negative shiitake mushrooms. Did not care. She said, I told you to call out. You need to call out. So I called out, and while I was calling out, I was informed by my coworkers, because I called the unit, that someone had left like a thank you card for me, and it had my name on it, and all it said was from room 22. Keep in mind, nobody stayed in room 22 that night, and a number of patients were assigned to room 22. So I was like, well, is there a name on it? And my coworker that picked up the phone said,
no, there's no name, but it's here for you to pick up when you come back to work.
Great. So I call my grandmother and I tell her what was going on, and she was like, you don't need to be anywhere near that thank you card, that note, whatever it is. You don't need to be picking it up, reading it. Don't tell anybody else to open it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Okay, so I asked her, well, what do you think is going on? And so, you know how older people are. They have to tell you a story before they actually tell you what they think is going on. So she brings up this example of when she was a young grasshopper, okay? And she had a couple of friends and they were all in this program together, this course, whatever it was, I don't know. And out of a group of them, maybe about 3 or 4 of this group of friends, one of them was not doing well at all. And so it came to a point where it was time for them to graduate and move forward onto the next level of whatever this thing was. And she didn't succeed. And so she had bought everyone congratulatory gifts. And so my grandmother was like, something is strange. I'm not opening this up. So one of the friends had opened it up, and maybe like less than 24 hours later, the friend goes blind, cannot see. My grandmother was like, that was my confirmation. I'm never taking anything from this woman again, and I need to distance myself. I need to distance myself. And so that was the example that she gave me to do not go anywhere near that card. And so I wanted to know if anybody else got a card. Did anybody else receive a thank you? Did anybody else receive anything? I wanted to hit up my friend, and my grandmother was like, you don't need to give this any energy. No time, pay it no attention. Leave it. Let it go the way it came. Okay, fine. So more time goes by, and it's time for me to go into work again. And I, in my mind, am thinking, do not send me to this unit. And I'm going to make it abundantly clear, if y'all send me to this unit with that room, I'm going home. I done received enough warnings. I am not the kind of person that is hard-headed. I don't need to learn the hard way. I don't want anything to do with it. If you send me to that unit to work with that room, I'm going home. I'm going home. I might go to my grandmother's. Shit, Dr. Mushrooms. So I get to work, and my charge nurse is like,
Oh, hey, Ashley, you know what? I was all ready to give you that card. I kind of wanted to see what it said, but I don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. And I've been asking the staff if anybody picked it up. I mean, I'm sure somebody must have picked it up accidentally, but so far, no one has any idea where it went. No one.
I was like, so the card just vanished? And she laughed, and she's like,
Yeah, it looks like it, but I promise if I see it or run into it, I'll give it to you. Promise I'm not trying to hide it or keep it from you or anything.
and I was like, oh, no. That is not what I am worried about. So I, of course, am thinking I genuinely, truly want nothing to do with this card. And I don't want anybody to look into it. I don't want anybody to see where it had disappeared to. So I asked the charge nurse, I said, did Sylvia get pulled to this floor to work by any chance? Because that other unit that I went to, that's her home unit. And she said,
No, she actually hasn't been pulled to this unit.
because I wanted to know if Sylvia got a card too. I know my grandmother told me don't look into it, but I wanted to know. So I reached out to Sylvia and I asked, I was like, hey, did you happen to get any thank yous, any thank you cards from any patients? She said no. No, she didn't. The answer was no. And then she said, why? And so I told her that, you know, I got a card. I got a card. And she said,
I hope you didn't touch it.
and I said, nope, but nobody knows where it is now. And she said to me,
Somebody is looking out for you.
and I just immediately remembered my grandmother's prayers and how beautiful and spiritual this woman is. Yeah. So I definitely did end up waiting some time to talk to her about what she thought the purpose of that card was, the contents of it were, and I think I'm gonna reach back out to her and ask her, you know, for like a fresh perspective and come back to you guys and let you know what she has to say. In the meantime, I do want to remind you guys that I know I have been taking forever to update the Epstein Street series, which is the same vibe as this situation that I had gotten myself into. Well, not even really got myself into, that I just stumbled upon years ago. The same vibe, but I do have to update it. So I just need maybe about 1 week, and I promise y'all will have a beautiful, brand spanking new, updated episode for the Epstein Street trilogy or series. Is that the right word? Trilogy, series, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Go take a look at my literary works. You know I'm coming out with more stuff. I have a new single out. Yes, I sing. Stay tuned. I will be updating y'all on everything. I promise. Pinky swear. Thank you so much. Subscribe and like.